So today we are going to talk about how to figure out how much you can pay to acquire a new customer.
Well, Jordan, I mean, I can pay whatever I can afford. I can pay what's in my bank account. You know, I have $10,000, so I guess I can get some customers with that money. Or what are you talking about here? What do we mean?
Okay, let's walk it back a bit, Sean. So let's figure out, first of all, what your customer lifetime value is. So it's actually a really...
lifetime value. So like what they're worth overall?
What they're worth overall. So
okay.
It's actually really simple to figure out what your customer lifetime value is. So if you're with a platform like Shopify, it's really easy to actually get all of this data to figure out. So what you do is you go into all of your orders, right? And you divide the amount of dollars by the amount of orders.
Okay,
right?
I like this. This is a formula. I like formulas.
Yeah. So you divide that, and essentially you're just figuring out what that lifetime value is, right?
So how many orders? So the overall revenue divided by the amount of orders, and that will tell you roughly what your average order amount is.
Yes. Now you need to take into account that's going to be your average order amount.
Yes.
Right. And then you need to figure out from there how many people. What the average amount of orders that you're getting per those customers is, right?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is it's a little bit more tricky than just dividing one number by another. We're going to actually put in the show notes a link for you guys to calculate it, and it's a very simple calculation once you make that. So once we figure out what our lifetime value of our customers actually are,
right?
So let's just say, for instance, with a company. So my wife and I. Besides the marketing company, my wife and I actually run the clothing company Little and Lively. And our average lifetime customer value is about $250.
That's not bad.
Right? So I know that the average person is going to spend about $250 over their lifetime. So what can I do? How much can I spend to acquire those customers?
And make those customers still profitable as well.
Yeah. Right, so you need to know, first of all, what your profit margins are, right? You need to know what your actual cost of goods is. So for me, let's just say that overall, about 40% is what I'm putting into the cost of everything, right? So with a $250 customer, overall, 40% of that is cost.
Right, so $100.
So so $100.
Yeah.
So I've got $150 to play with on the marketing side and to acquire that customer.
So you have $150 which you can afford to use to acquire the customer before they're not profitable anymore. Obviously, you want to set aside some of that for profit if you're trying to scale your business.
Totally.
Although, are there some situations where it's worth more or less to acquire a customer?
I think it just really depends how much you want to scale. So yes, it's $250 as the average lifetime value, but that doesn't take into account those people then referring your brand to their friends.
Right.
So for me, I'm very aggressive when it comes to paid marketing, and I'd be willing to spend probably upwards of about $100 to acquire a customer. Do I spend that? Absolutely not.
But if you want to be aggressive, you have to be willing to take the upfront cost, just knowing that this is going to grow.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just say that I'm okay with spending $50 to acquire a customer.
Right.
That means that's the metric that I'm actually going to look at when I'm running my paid ads.
So you could say that this is one of those KPIs that we're tracking that we were talking about a few episodes ago.
That's right. Yeah. So if you go back to episode 1, we talked all about how to figure out what your KPI is.
Yes.
So for this, we're actually talking about the amount that it costs per purchase. We're not talking about return on ad spend right now, because we don't get that number till a lot later on.
No, this is much more big picture. This is sort of beginning with the end in mind. So that if we're talking about like episode 2, optimizing for your KPI, you would be tracking what your cost per acquisition is for this campaign or for this ad set. And if you know that $50 is your max and you start to see it going up to $56, well, then you know what, you're going to optimize and see which ads within that set are costing you over $50, and you're going to adjust those or kill those.
Or maybe you can actually be okay with that.
Or maybe you can. Yeah.
Maybe you'll feel like, hey, I can actually be okay with $56 because I know in the end that customer's turning into $250.
Absolutely.
Right? So one of the things to get across, though, figuring this stuff out isn't for new businesses, right? This isn't for businesses that just want to make a quick buck. This is for businesses who are in it for the long haul.
So in saying that, Jordan, how much data do you think that you need to have prior to figuring out that number? Like a year, 2 years?
I'd say you need 1,000 customers.
1,000 customers. Okay, I like that.
To figure that out. Yeah. I think that making data based on anything less than about 1,000, so whether that's 1,000 page views, 1,000 purchases, anything like that, I think making data based on anything less than that isn't going to be as reliable.
Mm-hmm. Well, that totally makes sense. You're not really seeing the whole picture otherwise.
Yeah. So I think a great exercise now and something actionable for you guys is figuring out how much you can spend to acquire a customer. Mm-hmm. Not how little can you spend, how much can you spend?
Well, actually, that's the big thing. I mean, it's not a race to the bottom. If you're trying to grow your company, you need to be spending the money to grow your company. And yes, determining how much you can spend and still stomach that and still grow.
Yeah, that's right. So know your numbers, know your customer lifetime value, and from there you can figure out what your budget is. And maybe your budget's going to be a lot bigger than you originally thought, but you're going to grow your company. And Jordan, this is how you scale.
Jordan, this has been a great, insightful little episode.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Secrets to Scaling Online. If you're loving what you're hearing, subscribe to our podcast and share this with a friend. No, seriously, share it with a friend. No, if you don't, I'm going to find you and I'm going to make you profitable. Got it? No, seriously.